response to Republican lawmakers who have said today that your administration should take more accountability and not downplay what's happened with the signal that we've seen in these messages today?
Well, I don't know about downplaying. The press upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt. That's all.
Do you still believe there was nothing classified that was shared?
Say it?
Do you still believe nothing classified was shared?
Well, that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the various people involved.
President Trump took decisive action.
Approval and just
America only, or America alone.
I need to call foreign ministers, especially of our close.
private with the president of Russia.
Because it's in, we're talking about.
Various officials, including Pete Hegseth this morning.
If this was the case of a military officer, an intelligence officer, and they had this kind of behavior, they would be fired.
Nobody was texting war plans.
That's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans when targets were going to be targeted.
I believe there was discussion around targets in general.
I want to find if there's any human mistake or if a signal doesn't work. It could be that signal's not very good. It's a company.
Senate Republicans have said that they have formally asked the administration for an Inspector General report on the signal issue. Will you agree to that?
It doesn't bother me. I don't know. It's a company, and maybe it's not very good. I think we'd rather know about it now. There was no harm done because the attack was unbelievably succself that night.
So Mr. President, he's responsible. But he's also overseeing the investigation to find out what went wrong. Maybe
who's responsible?
Mike Waltz says that he's responsible.
Well, yeah, Mike Waltz, I guess he said he claimed responsibility, I would imagine. It had nothing to do with anyone else. It was Mike, I guess. I don't know. And that's ultimately what you should be talking about, I think. So Mike he took responsibility for it.
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position over the signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do with it. Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you.
The Secretary of Defense has said that the information in those messages was not classified. Are you going to ask him to review whether it should have been, should flight times and sequences?
Sure, I'll ask him to do that. Sure, I would.
About tariffs. So plenty of time for more questions. Sorry it's a bit shorter today, guys.
Can you explain, had these messages been?
We are not going to be lectured about national security.
Has the president been briefed and physically seen he's seen all the details of the chat as printed by the Atlantic?
I just spoke to the president about it, yes.
Then let me ask you if I can very quickly. In the chat, Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, details F-18s, Tomahawks, so some of the weapons that were used. He details the timing involved for this, all of which occurred 31 minutes before, as he says, F-18s would launch. The DoD manual details classified information as significant military plans, saying that is secret, that's classified. So what is it about what Pete Hegseth wrote that makes you say this is not classified?
Well, it's not just me saying that, Peter. It's the Secretary of Defense himself. And again, this message, there was no classified information transmitted. There were no war plans discussed.
Would you characterize these as military plans, military operation plans?
I would characterize this messaging thread as a policy discussion, a sensitive policy discussion, surely, as well as the Secretary of Defense. This question has been asked and answered. There was no classified material discussed. Jackie.
On what basis I was asking?
Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. So, why aren't launch times on a mission strike classified?
Again, I would defer you to the Secretary of Defense's statement he put out this morning. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media. We take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
Goldberg's intentions, do you believe
Jennifer,
that he
go
would
ahead.
release that to embarrass the administration ahead of the worldwide threats?
Jennifer, go ahead.
And you said that the president has now personally reviewed them. At the chat, at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote 14-15 strike drones on target, and in all caps he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay,
Philip.
sorry, I might follow up on what you had just
No,
said.
go ahead, Philip.
I
Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up. Philip, go
have a
ahead.
follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldberg.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I have called on you.
Thank you.
See you later.